All right, it's time to talk about everybody's favorite POS or point of sale. You may have heard the POS acronym used in different contexts. That is what we're going to be talking about today. So I want to talk about quickly, what does point of sale mean? It's kind of something that we just kind of learn and we assume, right? But if we break it down, right, point of sale, point meaning the place, right, and sale meaning where the transaction happens. So if you think about in a Walmart, your point of sale is at the till, the cash register, at the checkout, they might call it, right? But then if you think about a different kind of business, okay, maybe you think about a restaurant, especially a sit-down restaurant, right, where someone comes to your table and you tell them what you want. So maybe it is that you want a Diet Coke to start to drink, and then you want a quesadilla, and then you want a salad, right? So that all comes out in order, in different orders, right? And it's all done. You tell that person at the table, and then they go and they instruct the kitchen. So they do that through what is called a POS or point of sale system. Okay, so POS not only takes down all of the orders that people are ordering, not only in a restaurant, but in a Walmart. If you're going into a Walmart and you need to buy batteries, and you need to buy paper towels, and you need to buy apples, and you need to buy a t-shirt, right? The POS records all of that, and they do that with a SKU number, and that reads the price. It also calculates the sale. It also keeps track of inventory. Okay, it keeps track of your personal sales for the day. It keeps track of the amount of tax that's gone in. It keeps track of the type of transaction. So the POS does actually a ton of work in any industry, right? So when you go to the end of the day and you say, okay, well, I have $200 that I sold to people that use MasterCard, and I have $547 to people that use Visa, and then I did $120 in cash sales, right? That all gets recorded by your POS. Okay, so this is an older version. This is an old school cash register, okay? You may have seen these before, but you probably don't see them very often. Places that use them a lot, still a couple of like independently run convenience stores or places that are high volume, that they have a lot of products that are kind of the exact same. So one of the ones that I think of, I have a lot of experience in restaurants, but nightclubs. Nightclubs often will still use these old systems, right? Because they'll have these buttons here on the keyboard, and let's say that a domestic bottle is $415, right? That's the code that's put in, and that doesn't affect the price. So they record the code for that. So 415, or maybe domestic vodka is 516, right? So each product that they have in a nightclub will have a code, and you input that code so that they can record at the end of the night how much each of everything was sold. Okay. This is the customer display. This shows you how much money that you owe. This is the main display. Again, it's going to count up the number of items that you have and the amount of money. Okay, mode switch will change it from, let's say that there's two different businesses running off of this, or if you're going into an adjustment mode. So if you want to put in the code, if you want to change the code of 415 from something to something else, that's what mode switch will do. And then your cash drawer. Again, a lot of these places are mostly cash. Okay. It's a very simple old machine, but they are tried and true. It takes a little while to get used to them, but once you get used to them, they're very, very efficient. They're very quick. They're not quite as accurate as some of the other machines, but that's why places like nightclubs use them, because nightclubs are not scanning for each drink that they make. They're just making the drinks. Okay. This is a more updated POS. Okay. This is in fact the one that we will be using to do the POS training on. Okay, so we're looking at the screen here. We've got all of our inventory in here. We've got our inventory sections up here, and we'll get more into that kind of as we go along. Payment method, we've got our cash drawer, and we've got the keypad. This is a little scanner, so you can scan barcodes, and this is your receipt printer. Okay, so this is much more streamlined. It's much more accurate. The difference is that when we are scanning, and like something in a grocery store, right? If you go into Zayre's, they scan everything that you have, right? with the exception of some produce, and even some of that they're scanning now, right? So with produce, they're still putting in those codes just like they would do on the old POS machine. And you'll notice that if you look at the sticker on a Granny Smith apple, that number is the same on every Granny Smith apple in the entire world, right? Bartlett pear is the same. A red capsicum pepper is the same, right? They're all the same as every single other one. They're universal codes that go into these machines that's universally agreed upon, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, one of the things that's different about a restaurant POS than a retail POS is it's going to have seat numbers. Now, this is a very common POS provider. It's called Silverware. If you end up working in a restaurant, there's a very high likelihood that you will get familiar with Silverware very quickly. Okay, now if we look at this, this is an overhead view of what our restaurant looks like. Okay, so in here, we have all of these, and these are tables, and you can see there are people sitting at this table. There are 3 people seated here. Okay, that means that there are people sitting at that table in the restaurant, and all of these tables have numbers. That way, when I go and I take the order from table 22, I will go and I put that in, and then the kitchen, the back of house, or heart of house as some places call it, will know that the hamburger and French fries and the Caesar salad and the, whatever are going to table 22. Okay, so this is a really, really, really helpful system. It's a little bit confusing at first, but it's one of those things that you get very used to very quickly. This is also a very intense display. This is a big restaurant with a lot of tables in it, and this is laid out in such a way that is a little bit difficult, where what they could do is they could take all of these different sections and they could put them onto individual pages to have it not so overwhelming. But this is how it's set up. This is from the official Silverware website. Okay, another thing that Silverware POSs do is they will tell you all of the menu items here. They also have the guest number, and you can't see it in here, but it also has the course number. Okay, so if I decide that I would like a bowl of soup before I get my hamburger and French fries, okay, I can put your server or whoever can put this in to Silverware to let the kitchen know, okay, the soup comes out first, and then once the soup is finished, you can put out the burger. That way the burger's not sitting there under heat lamps or taking up a bunch of space or whatever, right? So that everything runs efficiently and no food gets overcooked or spoiled or gross. Yeah, it's a very, very great system. Okay, so you can see seat 1 is having the California Chicken Club with coleslaw on the side. Seat 2 is having the banh mi pork sandwich with a house salad, right? So it'll also allow you to check everything that you like with sides, and then each seat number so that the appropriate food goes to the appropriate guest. Okay, so that's just a little bit about Silverware, about restaurant POS systems. It's just a wee introduction. Okay, we'll be coming into the classroom to do our full POS workshop for a retail POS to kind of get a good feeling for it, but I'd like to show what the potential of the POS is. Okay, the last thing is a PIN, or a personal identification number. It's not called a PIN number, for the record. Okay, personal identification number, or a PIN. No one will give you a hard time if you do say PIN number, though. Okay, so what's the point of a PIN number? We know it from unlocking our phones, to operating debit machines, to operating ATMs, stuff like this, right? So this is a number that we personally identify with, and if you are working with a POS system, you'll have a PIN number for your POS as well. Okay, so one of the things that's really important is to not give out your PIN number to anybody. Okay, one of the things that we talked about that our POS system does is it keeps track of all of the sales that you make, and it also keeps track of all the transactions that you make. So if you give your PIN number, I just said it, if you give your PIN to your coworker, okay, and they accidentally do some transactions under your PIN and they make mistakes, then you might get in trouble for that. Or if your cash float or your till is low on cash at the end of your shift, then you're going to get in trouble for that. Okay, so it just keeps you safe. It keeps all of your transactions your own, and it makes sure that everything you are doing is something that you can be accountable to. So the last thing is, what is your till? What's your float? Right? That's the amount of money that you have in your cash register to start out the shift. Now, the reason that you have cash in your cash register to start out your shift might seem silly, because you say, well, you don't have to give cash back. You just have to take cash in. But if someone doesn't give you exact change, and this happens a lot in restaurants, right, where someone will come in and they'll order a glass of Diet Coke and they'll order a pound of chicken wings, which comes to $18 or whatever it is, and they'll give you a $100 bill, right? So you end up having to make change for that. So your till and your float are how you make that change, right? So there's going to be a set amount of money in your float, or that there's going to be a set amount of money in your till, which is called your float, pardon me. And so a lot of places will have a set amount of $300 or $400, right? And they'll have a variety of different kinds of change and smaller bills, so that in the instance that you need to make some change for someone, you can have access to do that. Okay? So take a look over all of that. That's probably one of the more intense information loading workshops that we have. Take a look over it. Come back in with any questions for when we do the in-person workshop. All right?